On Monday morning, I walked down to Graham's house to. He opened the door. Wow, I said. It didn't grow back yet, did it? Graham just gave me a stupid look. I begged my mom to let me stay home from school until it grows back, but she says it's going to take a long time. Sorry, man, I said. Maybe no one will notice. Right, said Graham. Unfortunately, when we got to school, Graham's missing eyebrow was all anyone could talk about. Usually, when you get a bad haircut, people will tease you for about an hour. Then they forget about it. But let me tell you, if you shave off your eyebrow, kids will make fun of you for days. They would probably still be laughing at Graham if it hadn't been for Luke, the new kid. Luke's first day was Wednesday. When Mrs. Gibson asked him to stand up and introduce himself to the class, he turned a kind of greenish yellow and said he didn't feel too good. Then he threw up all over the floor. This was great, because now the other kids had something else to make fun of, instead of Graham's missing eyebrow. The sad thing was that the poor new kid would probably go through the rest of 4th grade, and maybe the rest of his life, known as Luke the Puke. Poor guy. I thought about Luke that day, mostly because you could still smell throw up. As I sat there wondering how long our room would stink, a great idea popped into my brain. It was perfect. I waited until Mrs. Gibson gave us time to study on our own. Then I hurried up to her desk. Mrs. Gibson, I've been thinking, I said. Yes, Raymond, what about? She answered. Looking up from the paper she was correcting. Well, it must be hard for Luke, being new and everything. I said, the rest of us in the class are involved in the play. And well, I would hate for Luke to feel left out. I mean, he hardly knows anyone yet. So I was thinking maybe we should give him a part in the play. And since there are no more parts, I would be happy to give him mine. To make him feel welcomed. That's a great idea, Raymond. And very thoughtful. Mrs. Gibson replied, Yes, I thought to myself, I did it. No more play. No more plum pudding, no more humiliation. I was really beginning to like that new kid. But it was too good to be true. At that moment, Mrs. Gibson called Diane up to her desk. Diane, she said, Raymond has an idea to make our new student Luke feel welcome in our class. He thinks we should give him a part in the play. Don't you think that would be nice? She continued, smiling at both Diane and me. And since you have 2 parts, Diane, I was wondering how you would feel about giving one of them to Luke. What? What is going on here? I screamed inside my head. I couldn't believe this was happening. She had it all wrong. Didn't she hear the part about me giving up my part to Luke? I mean, Luke was supposed to be the new plum pudding guy, not the new narrator or ghost. Plus, this wasn't fair. He didn't even have to try out. That would be fine, I guess, Diane said, giving me a you'll pay for this kind of glare. Wonderful, Mrs. Gibson said. I'll talk to Mrs. Barker about it after school. This was just great. Not only did I still have my part, but I made Diane lose one of hers. I bet my trampoline jumping days were over, too. I didn't know what plum pudding was, but I sure hated it. I went back to my desk and didn't say a word for the rest of the day. The final school bell rang, and we all raced toward the door. Graham made it out first and was waiting for me on the front steps. As we walked home, we told each other about our problems. He told me about how he invited Kelly D'Angelo to his house to go over their lines together, and she said, no way. He thought it was because his missing eyebrow freaked her out. We discussed life's mysteries, like how long it takes for eyebrows to grow back and stuff like that. I told him about the mess I made with Diane's parts in the play. So that's why she's so mad, he said. I bet we'll never jump on the trampoline again, he added. Hey, how much money do you have? I asked. $1.50, he said, pulling a handful of coins out of his pocket. I've got 75 cents, I said with a smile. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? He asked. Let's go hermano, I said. Hermano means brother in Spanish. We know a few words in Spanish that we only use on special occasions, or when we need to get ourselves in a good mood like now. Other words we know are casa, which means house, baño, which means bathroom, dinero, which means money, and bonita, which means pretty. Whenever we have a bad day at school, we happen to have some extra money, which isn't very often. We walk over to the store and buy a box of Pop-Tarts or some cookies or something. Akali, do you have a question? Yep, go ahead. The name of the store is actually The Store. Can you believe that? Whoever built that place couldn't think of a better name than whoever built it couldn't think of anything better to name it than The Store. If I built a store, I would call it Food Extravaganza, and I would never, ever sell plum pudding. I don't know what it is about Pop-Tarts, but we love them. It's not that they taste especially good. They're kind of like little cardboard squares with hard frosting on them. But they're more like tradition with me and Graham. I think when we're old men and our wives are sitting around knitting socks or sweaters or something, Graham and I will be hobbling over to the store to share a box of Pop-Tarts. Anyway, that day when we got to the store, we began walking up and down the aisles like we always do. Only this time we saw something that was both crazy and disgusting at the same time. There, on the bread shelf right next to the hamburger buns, was a set of false teeth. I'm not talking about fake teeth, Halloween type of teeth either. These were real choppers, right out of some old person's mouth. We both fell on the floor laughing. I'll give you 75 cents if you touch them, I said. No way, Graham replied, but I'll give you my whole $1.50 if you try them on. Are you insane? I said, trying to catch my breath from laughing. Do you know what kind of disease you could get from an old person? They're always coughing, wheezing, and complaining about the way they feel. There's no way those chompers are getting close to my mouth. We walked all over the store trying to find the old person who lost their teeth. We thought the only thing funnier than some old teeth on the shelf would be someone walking around without any teeth at all. After a couple minutes, we gave up our search. Bought our Pop-Tarts, and headed home. Usually, we eat all the Pop-Tarts before we ever make it home, so we almost never get the chance to put them in the toaster like you're supposed to. But that day was different. We laughed most of the way home, talking about teeth and eyebrows. Just when we finally stopped laughing and made it to Graham Street, Graham burst out laughing again. What is so funny? I said. Graham could hardly control himself. He was laughing so hard. Wouldn't it be... He started trying to catch his breath. Spit it out, man. What? I wanted to know. Wouldn't it be funny if tomorrow at school... Graham started to crack up. Suddenly, I knew exactly what Graham was thinking. If we saw Mrs. Gibson without her teeth, I said, bursting out laughing. Graham nodded his head and held his sides from laughing so hard. We laughed until our cheeks and sides hurt. We got to his house and were able to enjoy the last 2 tarts straight from the toaster. All right, that is the end of chapter 7.